Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to the live stream today. We're going to talk about some healthy weight loss plans and strategies and tips for anyone over 50. But I really think this presentation is good for anyone, maybe over 30, over 40. I'm also going live today on Instagram. Hey, how you doing? As well as YouTube and Facebook. So ask your questions. Everyone on Instagram, if you want to check out the slide presentation, which I have going on. Unfortunately, I can only show that on YouTube. So if you want to really see the slides and all that, jump over to YouTube. You can say I can pull in a whole bunch of comments from everyone as well. Let me do that. Thanks so much for showing up. That's great. I'm going to move my comments over here so I can see them better. There we go. Hey, Jess is here too. Thanks, Jess. Thanks for showing up on this Sunday morning. I'm going to reassign everything. Hey guys at Instagram, thanks for showing up. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of weight loss strategies. If you say 50 and over, I think it can really work for just about anybody. So let's see what we got. I'm going to readjust this one more time. Get my comments over here. Hey, Chris is here. Hey, Chris, thanks for showing up. Good morning to you. The sound is good in this video. Great, that's good. I know I've been using that good audio interface. I think I got the sound finally worked out all the time, which is really great. I kind of like this thumbnail I used today. I used a fit guy boxing, kind of a cool thumbnail. Hey everybody on Instagram. Okay, let's dive right into it. Let's see. Oh, from Australia, we got someone from Australia here today. Lainey, that's great, awesome. I mean, actually, I think I mentioned this a while ago. I had an incredible trip. I went to Sydney, Australia. Maybe this is before my kids were born. Maybe 25 years ago. My wife had a business trip, and I was really into surfing then. So she worked. She had business meetings all day, and I surfed like a different beach every single day. It was incredible. And everyone in Australia really loves Americans, so it was such a fun, incredible trip. I absolutely loved it. Jess is from the UK. Love your videos, very helpful. I've lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks with the fasting. Oh, I love hearing stories like that. Incredible, Jess. Stay with it. Sounds good. But I'm going to talk about it in this presentation, though. I hope I don't throw you off, but I am also a big believer in taking like a little bit of a diet break every 6 weeks. So even though you're doing so well, long term, I feel like every 6 weeks or so it's nice to jump out of a calorie deficit. You can stay with the fasting, but I'm probably going to want you to up your calories a little bit. It's going to be better for long-term success. I know it could be a little counterintuitive, but we're going to discuss that a lot today. And once again, everyone on Instagram, if you want to check out the slides, jump over to YouTube, or you can follow, or you can go to Mike Kohler Fitness on Facebook as well. Okay, so let's jump into it. Okay, so that's what we're going to go over today exactly. We're going to go over like a healthy weight loss plan for people over 50. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go over you've for everyone who shows up all the time. Some of this is repetitive to some degree. For anyone new, I think you're going to find it really eye-opening. But we're going to go over my weight loss calorie formula. Then I'm going to talk about how much protein you should eat, because these I think are the key elements to losing weight the healthy way, or just being really healthy with your diet. Then we'll talk about the importance of eating a high fiber diet as well. And then we're going to go over just a general like active lifestyle plan and just some core movements, some basic like push and pull movements I think everyone should be doing, especially when you're older, just to maintain your muscle mass. Because when you're losing weight, it's so critical to do resistance training to make sure you maintain your muscle mass, because you can easily lose a lot of muscle when you're losing weight and when you're restricting calories. All right, so let's jump into the first one. Let's go over my weight loss. Hey Casey, how you doing? My weight loss calorie formula. And I also released a short video today on my 30 days to optimal health. If you're following along with me, definitely check it out. I've done 8 videos so far. Today was the day on this 30-day challenge where I talked about this, like my weight loss calorie formula. But it's really good. Eventually I'm going to have 30 of those short little videos. And I may even just do this email thing where I can just send you all 30 videos if you want to have them in the sequential order. But it's a really good, I think it's going really well. I really do like it, which is really nice. Okay, so this is my calorie deficit formula. I think it's one of the easiest ways to do it. Sometimes I posted a lot of videos on this formula, and then some people say, "Oh, Mike, how are you coming up with these numbers like 10 times your body weight, 11 times your body weight?" Because my formula for getting to a calorie deficit, I think the simplest way to do it, and I've tried, and the reason why I use 10 or 11 because I've tried everything over the past 35 years. You know, you can use a more sophisticated way of doing it. Like when I went to school and was studying physiology, things like that, and we would say, interview someone and figure out what the basal metabolic rate is and all these things. We'd ask them a ton of questions, and we'd want to know their activity level, and you can definitely come up with a little more of a sophisticated way of doing it. But I find the easiest way to do it is just to take your body weight and multiply it by 10 or 11. So for example, if you're 175 pounds and you want to lose weight, if you ate like 1,750 calories, I think that's a nice deficit to be in. You can even go 11 times that, maybe go up to 1950, and I think you're going to do really well. This is Jeff. Snuck this up on me. Good morning. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Yeah, I announced it. Sometimes I announce it the day before. I announced that I was going live today a little bit later, so hey. Okay, so I think that's a great way to figure out a calorie deficit. We're going to talk about cycling your calories in the next slide, because you know that I'm really into that. I always think that you're better off maybe eating a little bit more some days, eating a little bit less the other day to maintain like a higher metabolism. A little debatable with the research, but I think it's really effective. And then a general rule too, maintenance calories at about 15 times your body weight, or maybe 500 to 750 calories over what this formula would indicate. And it's good to know what your maintenance calories is. You know, you can also just experiment. Like for example, start tracking everything in MyFitnessPal, which I love that app. It's a free app. It's really simple to enter all your food in it. It used to be that the barcoding was free. Now I think you have to pay a little bit if you want to use barcoding to enter all your food. But even if you don't do that, it's really, really easy, in my opinion, to use. And you can kind of figure out what your maintenance calories is by just entering your food. So for example, let's say you've been tracking your calories, your proteins, your fats, your carbs. Those are your macros, your protein, fats, and carbs. Say you've been tracking it for 4 or 5 days, and you've been consistently eating, you know, maybe 2,500 calories, and you're not gaining or losing weight, then you know those are your maintenance calories, right? It's different if you start doing excessive amounts of exercise. That might change, but how your life is now, those are your maintenance calories. But I do find like another easy general rule is 15 times your body weight would be your maintenance calories. So just keep this all in mind. But that's my calorie deficit formula. I find it really effective. I've tried so many different ones with people. I find 10, 11 times your body weight, it's enough calories so you're not torturing yourself. Yet it's a great calorie deficit to beat. And if anyone has any questions, you know, drop me a line. You just pop them in the thing. But let's talk about calorie cycling. This is, I think, a key part of staying in a calorie deficit while not having your metabolism slow down too much and making it more sustainable, more reasonable for you to do it. And I know the research, I'm going to go through this whole slide, but the research is somewhat inconclusive on this. This is more like my own personal experience, and a lot of people talk about this metabolic adaptation, but let me break it all down. So all calorie cycling means is that some days you eat more and other days you eat less. Let's see, do we have a request? Okay. Right, some days you eat more, other days you eat less. And I think it's a great way to get into a calorie deficit and make it a little bit easier, because some days you can take in maybe 400 or 500 calories more, other days you're taking 4 or 5 calories less. You know what, guys? I'm going to jump off of Instagram. If you want to see this whole presentation, jump over to YouTube and you can see all the slides. Because I just find, for some reason, the Instagram, I keep on looking over here, is distracting me, but I appreciate everybody showing up. Thanks. Okay, now I can focus on this a little bit better. I think that was really distracting. I can't do two different, like look at my phone and look at this live stream feed. I feel like I'm not doing as good of a job. Okay, so let's go over calorie cycling. Okay. One day you eat more, one day you eat less, or it can also be like you eat more for 1 week, and then, for example, you eat less for a week. So there's multiple different ways of doing it. Or you can do 5 low-calorie days and maybe 2 up-calorie days, or even 1 up-calorie day. So there's all different ways of doing it. But let's first go over what metabolic adaptation is. You know, whenever you lose weight, your metabolism is going to slow down to some degree because you're not as big of a person. It's like a normal thing. But you can over-exaggerate metabolic adaptation by staying in a calorie deficit like too aggressively for too long. Let's say you're in a calorie deficit for 3 months and all of a sudden you stop losing weight and your metabolism probably slowed down a little bit too much. It's a normal thing, but you want to minimize it as much as possible. Some people say you want to minimize that starvation mode if you're aggressively restricting calories. And I also find it's a lot easier to stick to the diet when you're allowed to eat more some days. So for example, let's say you're doing that 10 times your body weight formula. Let's say you're 200 pounds, you're eating 2,000 calories a day. And let's say you really want to lose, say, 25 pounds. You want to weigh 175. I think a nice way of doing this calorie cycling is to multiply your goal weight by 10 as well. So one day you would eat 2,000 calories. The next day you would eat 1,750 and keep on repeating and cycling that. I think that's a great way. You're in a calorie deficit, but some days you eat more. It's kind of ensuring yourself that you're not going too aggressive with your calorie restriction. Or another way of doing it, like I said, you can go 10 times your body weight, eat 2,000 calories for 5 days, and then you can do 2 days, maybe you go back up to maintenance, right? 15 times your body weight, you've eaten 3,000 calories for 2 days, then go back to 2,000. I mean, there's so many different ways of doing it, but the idea of calorie cycling, I think, is a great concept. It makes you like it makes you like more reasonable with your diet, I think, and in my opinion, it's good for your metabolism. I feel like I'm a little thrown off from that Instagram thing. It'll wear out of my brain soon, hopefully. Okay, and then I want to make a note too, like I did here. Every 6 weeks, I would take a diet break, and there's been a couple of studies that show the benefits of doing that. So, for example, coming out of a calorie deficit for 2 weeks, then going back into a deficit, like long term down the road, a year down the road, the people who did that did better. But it's somewhat inconclusive. Some studies say there's no benefit to it. I personally think there's a benefit to it. That's why I want to keep on emphasizing it. I'm going to try to stick to the science a little bit more in some of my recommendations. So, if the science doesn't totally confirm something, I'll just give you my personal opinion. So calorie cycling is somewhat of a debatable thing, but I find it incredibly effective, if not just for the single reason that it makes the diet a lot easier to stick to. All right, let's see what we got. Melissa, let's see. What if you just want to stay in the same weight but lean? What do I need to do? Okay. I think that's pretty. I mean, I think you can definitely say eat maintenance calories, and if you're working, you look like a fit guy from your picture. And if you're working out, doing a lot of resistance training, and really working out a lot, you can definitely lower your body fat and put on muscle at the same time. I think it gets a little bit challenging to put on muscle when you're going into like a pretty good calorie deficit. You can be around maintenance calories or a couple of hundred calories below maintenance, and I think definitely put on muscle and reduce body fat. Actually, I think I did a live stream a couple of weeks ago, like talking specifically about this. A lot of that has to do, though, is where you're coming from. Like if you're a really fit guy and you're at like 10% body fat and you've been working out for like a decade, you've been working out for years, losing body fat and putting on muscle at the same time can be somewhat challenging. Not that it's impossible, it's really hard. But if you haven't worked out for a while and you used to be in good shape, it's easy to do both things at the same time. Or if you have a lot of weight to lose, you got so many excess calories and body fat, you can be at maintenance calories, work out a lot. And I shouldn't even say work out a lot, work out effectively, create the response you want, and burn body fat and put on muscle at the same time. But I think you can do that. I think you can definitely stay at maintenance calories, and you look pretty fit. Maybe you want to experiment with, you can try 14, 15 times your body weight. And you're going to see when I break down, obviously I'd want you to eat as healthy as possible, keep your protein up. Maybe if you're a real workout guy, maybe 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight would be a great formula to follow. But you can do it. I think you can do it. Let's see what we got. Okay, let's go to, this is my protein card. Hey, Harriet's here. Thanks, Harriet. Thanks for showing up. That's great. I appreciate it. Okay, so this is my number 2. So number 1, we talk about if you want to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. So my general formula for, I think, healthy weight loss, not overdoing it. I don't want you to go in too low. And the next thing is so important is to eat protein. And the best way probably to do it, let's just say you're at a normal fitness level, is 0.9 grams of protein per pound of lean body weight. But it's also really hard to determine really what your lean body weight is. Unless you're doing underwater weighting, you can use electrical impedance scale or maybe one of those DEXA scan. You gotta go into a machine and it'll tells you everything. How much body fat, how much muscle mass you have. But it's somewhat expensive and it's a real procedure. So another generally easy rule, I think, is 0.9 grams per pound the body weight is a great way to calculate how much protein you need. I talk about that all the time. I think it's the easiest way to do it. You can use goal weight if you need to lose more than 50 pounds. So for example, if you're 200 pounds, but you say you really only want to weigh 150, say you're a woman, you're 200 pounds, but you really want to weigh 150, I would multiply 150 by 0.7 to eat less protein. I'll give you an example of what that would be. Let me get my calculator. So for example, you take 150 times 0.7, so maybe 110 grams of protein a day if your goal weight is more than like 50 pounds of weight loss. Otherwise, I think you can just go with your actual weight. Like if you're 175, you want to weigh 150, you can take 175, multiply that by 0.7, and that'll put you at about 122, 125 grams of protein. But keep your protein up, even when you're cycling calories. That's the thing. Even on your low and high calorie days, never cut back on protein. That's the constant. You want to control calories, in my opinion, by eating. I lean towards a relatively low carbohydrate diet because I found that all the empty calories, those high glycemic carbs like the breads, the pastas, the junk food, the cookies, the cakes, especially when you're mixing high glycemic type carbohydrates with those processed oils, that's the worst thing you can possibly eat. So that's how I would want you to keep your calories down, but always keep protein up for sure. Okay, let's see. Another question. Every 6 weeks, what do you think the minimum diet break should be? That study that I was referencing, they generally take a 2-week diet break, but I've had good results literally even with a week. I think it's a good idea. Just go to maintenance calories for a week, makes a big difference. Plus it makes the diet a lot easier to stick to. But you have to know yourself. Like if you're the type of person that if you start overeating, and I hate to even use the term overeating, but if you have to know yourself. You're the type of person that is just going to totally like throw you off, and you start eating those trigger foods and all those, all the junk food that maybe you eliminated. I'd want you to be really careful, really careful with the diet break. Meaning, like, we're going to be talking about time restricted eating in here too, and my favorite diet, which is like 2 meals a day plus a protein bar, protein shake. What I would want you to do is maybe just eat, have one more good meal, as opposed to just doing 2 meals plus a protein shake. Maybe go back to eating breakfast, taking another 300, 400, 500 calories, and just do that for a week or so. And if you don't want to necessarily do the 6-week diet break, you can just do this more intermittently. Like I talked about before, you really can cycle in so many different ways. I mean, you can be in a calorie deficit, even going high or low for 4 or 5 days, and then just do a day where you're at maintenance calories. It's kind of like, just think, the more food you eat, the more protein you eat, the more things you eat, it just boosts your metabolism, like the thermic effect of food, things like that. So there's so many different ways of doing it. But the general rule is, and just from working with so many people over the years, if you're in a good, nice calorie deficit for 6 weeks, I think you'll do better taking a break for a week or two. Okay. And that's the other thing. That's the other thing why, like I said, the thermic effect. That's the other reason why protein's so important. First of all, protein has probably the highest satiety. Plus, most of your protein's mixed with fat. Like when you're eating like salmon and all my favorite stuff, and sardines and even red meat, and even chicken and poultry and things like that, like eggs and full fat dairy, things like that. You're getting the protein and fat together, which is so satisfying. Like, you have a 10-ounce, 8-ounce piece of salmon, with a couple of vegetables. You're not hungry for hours because the salmon is so filling and satisfying. Plus, the protein has the high thermic effect. And what I mean by thermic effect is that, the heat that it takes to digest the meal. You can burn up 25-30% of your calories just digesting and processing the protein. So if you eat like 500 calories of say a steak that's 500 calories, let's times that by 30, 150 calories is just eliminated. So the net calories, it's only 350 on a 500 calorie steak, So it's definitely something to think about, eating a higher protein diet, especially when you get an older. All the research is saying now that you just require more protein the older you get, for your bones, your skin, your nails, your connective tissue, your muscle mass. It's so important to keep the protein up. I find this I know traditionally people say, people in the U.S. eat so much protein, but in my experience, they really don't. Especially women. I think women are so low on protein. I've analyzed, I mean, I always say thousands, but I'm sure it's a couple thousand because I've been working in gyms from the age of like 16 and I'm 60. But hundreds and hundreds, and I find very rarely do I get someone coming to my gym or someone that I'm working with online who is eating enough protein. Some guys, maybe, if you're a true steak and potatoes guy and having like bacon and eggs in the morning and, you know, having a hamburger for lunch, you're going out to lunch and then you're having some type of meat for dinner, but then that's not healthy either. So, you know, I would keep your protein up. And it's much easier than you think to take in 100, 150 grams of protein. Say I take in about 150 grams of protein a day. How I do it is, you know, for lunch, I'm going to show you some of my meals. I'll generally have maybe an 8-ounce piece of chicken, fish, and meat. That gives me like 50 grams there. I may top the meal off with the Greek yogurt for dessert. Gives me 15 more grams. That's 65 grams of protein right there. Plus, you get the protein from vegetables and things like that as well, too. You may pick up a few grams from that. And then dinner, I'll do something similar. I'll have animal protein generally twice a day, not necessarily red meat, but I eat a lot of fish. I lean towards pescatarian, you know. So I'll show you some of my meals towards the end. Okay, let's talk about fiber. I think there's another element to the diet that makes it a lot easier to like understand and to grasp a little bit. Just think, if you want to lose some weight, we'll go back to that example. Say you're 200 pounds, you want to lose some weight, right? Say you want to weigh 175, 170. First, you got your calories in line, and you want to do it a healthy way. So you don't want to go too aggressive. You want to go, say, 10, 11 times your body weight. Okay? Oh, who's this? Oh, I look great for 60. Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks. I appreciate that. So let's say you're eating, 2,000 calories one day, then the next day you're eating 1,750 calories. You're doing what I said. You're cycling your calories back and forth, so you're in a nice calorie deficit. You're also eating an adequate amount of protein. Let me give you an example. I'll give you the exact numbers times 7. Now, you're also eating about 140 grams of protein a day, right? So you're doing what I said. You're taking in protein, good amount of protein in both meals, maybe even doing a protein shake or a protein bar, just to make sure you get up to 140 grams of protein. Now, when it comes to your carbohydrates and fats, you have a couple of different options. If you do this, like say you say to yourself, I'm also going to try to eat a diet that's high in fiber, that has at least 30 grams of fiber a day, hopefully even more. It's going to make sure that you're eating healthy food. It's going to make sure that you're eating vegetables, you're eating like a few servings of vegetables a day. It's going to make sure that you're eating a couple of fruits every single day, because if you don't do that, you're going to be like over your calories. You can almost, I know, and I've heard people online say this, even some bodybuilder type people say, as long as you're getting your calories in line and you're keeping your protein up, you can backfill your calories with almost anything you want. You could do that, and I think you'll probably do well, but that wouldn't be the title of this. Like, I'm talking about healthy weight loss for people over 50, or really healthy weight loss for everyone. I would want you to backfill your calories once you taking in enough protein with healthy foods. And you can do that by keeping your fiber up. So you're going to have to eat like broccoli and cauliflower and high fiber type vegetables and low sugar fruits like blueberries, things like that. So if you just track those 3 things, those are my big 3 things to track with most people. Calories, keep your calories in line. I feel like I'm finally warming up into this live stream today. Keep your calories in line, right? Eat an adequate amount of protein, keep your protein up, and then make sure that you're eating about 30 grams or more fiber. You're eating like a perfect whole natural food diet. There's no room in your diet for the cookies, the cake. Just think, there's one piece of cheesecake could literally be 1,000 calories, and you're trying to only eat 1,750. You have no room for anything. You get no room for your protein. You get no room for your fiber. You know what I mean? So if you just track calories, protein, and fiber, you're good to go. You're going to do great. Oh, hey, Alexandra. Thanks for showing up. Thanks again for the super chat. I know you gave me some super chats last time, too. Really nice. Let's see what we got. Okay, Mike. I have looked up another Dr. Gabrielle Lyon Lynch, and she does say 1 meal with 40 grams of protein is better than 3 meals. Yeah, it's interesting. I did a little research on that. And I heard her talking about the importance of that first meal of the day and being high in protein. And part of kind of what I said last time to some degree. And it's interesting because some other people were sending me stuff about this too. And it seemed like what I think she was saying to some degree is that Like when you're sleeping overnight and you're in repair mode and you have no protein in your system, when you wake up, a lot of the calories and a lot of like the vitamins, like the nutrients from that protein is going to go to almost like right to repair. She almost thinks it's like an organ almost in a way. It's going to like, I even heard another guy talking about her, because I did a little research on it, saying that he doesn't even think, and even Mark Sesson was talking about this, that guy who wrote the Primal Blueprint. He said he wrote an article back in 2007 talking about this, saying that that's why he doesn't think calories from protein, similar to thermic effect, even count as much as other calories, because so much of the calories from the protein, especially that first meal of the day, is going to go to repair, meaning that it's going to help build muscle and skin and hair and nails and connective tissue. That it's almost like a sponge, like your body's just going to suck up that protein. So I know it's a little confusing, but I'm definitely on page with her. I have to follow her a little bit more. I listened to another podcast that she was on, and she just briefly touched about this, but she really focused on the importance of all the essential amino acids, like the leucine, the isoleucine, the valine, those branched chain aminos, how important they are. She was saying that first meal, that those high protein meals should have at least 3 grams, 3,000 milligrams of leucine. So I'm definitely in the same camp with her, no question about it. I really think a high protein diet, especially when you're getting older, but really all throughout your entire life, is critical and like super, super important. And let me see what was the question again? I want to make sure I got this right. About 3 times a day. 1 meal of 40 grams is better than 3 meals of 15. Yeah, for some reason, she really does feel like you just need, I understood it just more like you just need a lot of protein. More than you could, because 45 grams for the day is just like nothing. She would want you to have, similar to me, 2 or 3 meals with 50 grams in it. I've heard her even say more than that. So I'm sure you heard her say that quote, but my takeaway from it is a little bit more like she just wants you to eat a high protein diet. Like 45 grams of protein a day is nothing. And it seems like the minimal threshold for protein synthesis and things like all the good things that protein does is when that leucine is really high, above that 3,000 milligrams. So you have to eat like 15 grams of protein is not going to get you anywhere near enough leucine or those branched chain aminos. So even like 1 scoop of a whey protein isolate, which is maybe 120 calories, could have about 2,800, 3,000 milligrams of leucine is 25 grams of protein. So if you would just do, say, for example, 15 grams of protein in a whey protein isolate, which is such a high form of leucine, you're not going to get anywhere near that 3,000 milligrams. You're going to be getting something like 15 too, so you need more. Let's see. Of course, just 1 meal a day with 45 grams of protein, but I like 3 meals. Oh, that's why you're asking this question, Alexandra. I wasn't following what you mean. I understand what you're saying, because I know you like to eat more of those smaller meals during the day. So your question, trying to say, is what should you do, right? Should you just, because I'm hoping though, Alexandra, that you're taking in more than 45 grams of protein a day, and I think you are. I would just literally, even if you don't hit 45, I would just go more than as much as you can in each meal, because I know that's right. 3 or 4 meals with 45 grams. I mean, that's too much. I mean, I don't want you eating 90, 180 grams of protein. I mean, if you're doing 3 meals a day, I even think 35, what that puts you at, 30, 60, 90, puts you at 110. I think you're going to do great with that. And it's still, even with everything she said, I've even looked at studies, because I've done a whole bunch of videos and did a bunch of research on the OMAD diet. And I've looked at studies, though, that show that people who took in like 90, 100 grams of protein just in 1 meal did just as well as people who did 30, 60, 30, 30, 30. So, the biggest thing is how much protein you're taking in throughout the whole day, even if you're doing it in a bunch of smaller meals, as opposed to just not eating enough protein. That would be my opinion, the big thing. So I wouldn't overthink this, Alexandra. And even if she thinks it would be better if you just took in 45 grams in 1 meal as opposed to 15, 15, 15, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, in my opinion, because I think it's more important just to make sure you're taking in enough protein. Even if you do 20-20-20 or 25-25-25 in 3 meals, I think you'll do just as good. I really don't think it's going to be much difference. Okay. On my very low calorie diet, I was taking 9 meals a day with 15 grams of protein, but it's better 3 meals with 45 grams. What I mean, truthfully, I would rather you do 3 meals with 45 grams, because just to minimize those mini insulin spikes, and they get you out of just constantly spiking insulin and constantly eating 9 meals all during the day. Now, that was really popular. Some people believe that it would keep on like stoking your metabolism. I would rather you just say 3 meals a day, taking a good amount of protein, digest that meal, let insulin come down, lower your blood sugar, do it again, as opposed to constantly just like eating. I would rather you do that, for sure. I'd much rather just eat 3 meals. But you seem like, but the main thing is still the calories, right? So if you find that you have a much harder time only eating 3 meals as opposed to doing all these little mini meals, calories is still the most important thing. So you got to figure out what really works best for you. But I would rather you eat 3 meals with 45 grams, definitely, as opposed to eating 9 meals. No question about it. But like I said, keep in mind, calories are still the most important thing. So figure out what works with you, and you can do something in the middle. Experiment with both. But I don't think 9 times. It's still, if the amount of protein is about the same, there's not going to be much difference. Okay. After 50, and the image is a man in his 60s or 70s or 80s. Oh, you mean in the thumbnail? I don't even know. I kind of like the thumbnail. Sometimes it's hard to find good pictures, for the thumbnail. I'm not even good at doing thumbnails. I got to get better at it because it's so important, but I don't know, about that. Okay, Mike, can you show us what your meals look like throughout the day? Oh, definitely. At the end, you'll see. This is probably your first time with the live stream. I only pulled 3 or 4 meals this time, but I can pull even some more. At the end in the Q&A, I'll show you my meals, but I'll give you like a quick example of one. Like, for example, I do stuff like this all the time. This is one of my classic ones. I have a can of sardines, a few hard-boiled eggs, arugula. I always eat arugula every single day because it's high in nitrates. That's good for you too, working out, Melissa, because it's high in nitrates, which convert to nitric oxide, gives you a great pump. I eat an avocado every single day, my blueberries. That's like my typical meals. And then just because I always talk about intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, I think this is a great way when you have when you know how many calories you're eating. It's easier to be into a calorie deficit. Like we were talking about with Alexandra, when you minimize the amount of meals you're eating in a day. Plus, I do think there are health benefits to being in a fasted state for like 16 hours. Like low insulin level increases your insulin sensitivity. I think it's good for metabolic health to take a 16-hour break from eating. And I think that's not too long, and I think it's kind of like a sweet spot where you can do it somewhat indefinitely. And my favorite program is you can go early or late, 16-8, meaning that you can eat breakfast and then be done maybe like 4 o'clock, or you can wait till 12 o'clock and be done at 8. Some of the newer research is leaning a little bit more towards early time restricted eating, like taking your protein earlier in the day is better for maintaining and putting on muscle. Let's see what Jeff's got to say. Don't worry, he always shows his meals and makes me hungry when I'm just drinking coffee. That's funny. So you can do it either way. If you want the most possible benefit, early time restricted eating is probably better. And I like the 2MAD, like 2 meals a day, plus a protein bar, protein shake. So lately, what I've been doing lately is I've been doing like a pre-workout shake. Maybe around 11:30, 11 o'clock, I work out, do my resistance training, even though I walked in the morning in a fasted state, which I always do. Except for today, because I prepare these slides, I do this. I'm going to do my walk after this, but it's raining in New York, so I'm probably going to do it on the treadmill. Then I work out, do my resistance training, generally do a post-workout meal, kind of like what I showed you there with the arugula, high protein. I try taking 60-65 grams of protein. And then I do a similar dinner, and I try to eliminate snacking. But sometimes I don't show you. I up my calories a little bit. Like I may have a row of dark chocolate after these meals that I don't put in the video. I haven't been drinking at all lately now because I'm doing this like 30-day no alcohol challenge thing. But sometimes I'll have a glass of wine either before or after dinner. I have to start filming my dinners more because the lighting is just so bad in my house, in my dining room. Like during the day, I have great light, but I just recently bought a light, so I'll start filming some of my dinners. But what I like about 16-8, 2 MAD plus a protein bar protein shake is you can do anything you want with it. If you want to be in a calorie deficit, you can. Right? You can be in maintenance calories. You can even be at a positive energy balance and put on muscle and still get the benefits of being in a fasted state. I think it's a nice mix between, like, you know what they sort of call mTOR, which is like growth signaling when you're eating protein, and when you're working out, you're in growth mode. But some people feel like if you do that too often, it can lead to bad things like growth in like cancer cells and things like that you don't want to grow. See, that's the opposite. That AMPK, the sirtuin, the longevity genes, you want that mix. So I find that since I eat a high protein diet and I'm working out all the time, that's my mTOR. But I also want that 16 hours in a fasted state where I feel like I'm recovering, I'm repairing, I'm keeping insulin low. You know, I'm doing the opposite of growth. It's kind of like I'm in rejuvenation. So I like the mix between the two. And I think the 16-8, 2 MAD plus a protein bar protein shake is just a great combination. Hey, thanks for signing up. Yeah, you know, I saw your question. I didn't answer that question yet because I'm not that familiar with the supplement. But I wanted to do some research, and then I'll give you a nice response. Your thoughts. Some research I read says monkeys, mice, and worms live longer when supplementing. Yeah, you know, I'm not that familiar with it. I have to look into it. But thanks for bringing that in mind. I'll do that this week for sure. Stronger bones, muscles. I know people. I've heard of it. I just never took it myself. No, but I'm sure there's something to it. Okay, and then I just want to go over the last slide before we go into some more meals. I'll even pull some more meals. Hey, what's going on? I lost my good camera here. For some reason, this thing switched to the. Let's see what's going on. That's kind of weird. Okay, I'm gonna copy this. Give me a second, guys. Copy. I'm gonna change slides. I don't know what happened there. Let me pop it up. There we go. And the last one, let me see how I do this. These are just Google slides that I bring into this software. It's called Ecom Live. And here's the last slide. And it's obviously, you know, when you're over 50, you want to lose weight the healthy way. You got to be active, right? You know my formula. I'm into like walking. I walk at least twice a day, sometimes even 3 days. Wednesdays I walk 3 times a day because like I do a typical split, meaning that on Monday, Tuesday, you know, Monday I'll do train upper body. Tuesday I train lower body, generally with a short HIIT workout too, because I like to warm my knee up. Then Wednesday is almost like a day off, but I don't consider walking a day off. It's like an active rest day. I walk 3 times a day on Wednesday. I'll walk 45 minutes in the morning, you know, maybe a 30-minute walk or so right after lunch, and then I'll do another walk in the evening, sometimes even 45 minutes. Great for your circadian rhythm. You know, if you guys were following me, I'm really into that circadian rhythm, getting that sunlight, you know, first thing in the morning, you know, which is so nice. Let's see. I think Chris. Hey, thanks so much, Chris. Chris is always giving me super chats. Really nice of you. Okay, this is Chris. Okay, can you help me with my cardio again? I went 3 miles day 1. Then day 2, walk 3 miles. Day 3 run. I alternate. What should my heart rate be? I'm 44, 200 pounds. Okay, let me just figure out your phone. Okay, so for everyone to know, I do like that basic, you know, cardio. Let me see if I can hold that comment there. Like that basic target heart rate formula. How you figure out like your max heart rate? And this is just like an approximation. You take 220, then you minus your age. So Chris is 44. Also, Chris, I gotta thank you. Yeah, did I thank you already for that incredible? I know I may have thanked you on Instagram. Chris sent me this like just incredible video. Oh man, I loved it. On 4th of July about him walking outside, and he was telling me how his kids were doing it. Like my whole family loved that. I showed my father, I showed my daughter. My daughter got choked up. I really appreciate that, Chris. That was so nice of you. Okay, so Chris's maximum heart rate is roughly about 176 beats. That would be like his heart couldn't beat any faster. You know, if you went to Is everybody back? I don't know what happened there, guys. Dude, just give me a thumbs up if everyone's back. I think I lost connection there for a second. I know, it's raining pretty hard in my house. Maybe there was like a thunder. I'm gonna assume everybody's here because I see 11. I see everything is still going. But the live stream only says 21 seconds. Everybody, just give me a thumbs up, guy. I'm gonna give everybody a minute or two because I want to answer Chris's question. Is everybody back? Let me go look over on YouTube and just see what's going on there. Let's see if it's still. You're back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, good. Let's go back to Chris. Okay, so what do we got here? So we got I think your max heart rate. Let me pull up the calculator again. Right. So the max heart rate was 176. And the high end of your target heart rate is like 150 beats per minute. So this is what I would do. When it comes to those 3-mile runs, I'd like you to do some type of that high intensity interval type training, say 2 days per week. Doesn't even have to be 3, it could just be 2. So one day when you're doing, let's say you're doing that on a Monday. Let's say you're doing 3-mile run on Monday. First you want to jog easy. I would say like maybe a 12-minute pace, which would be 5 miles an hour, maybe a 10-minute mile. I'm not sure that what your running speed is. And you don't want your heart rate to be too high. Say you want your heart rate to be at least maybe 120, 115, you're warming up. Then I'd like you to kind of sprint or like hustle up a hill and try to get your heart rate up to like that 150, 155. You can even go 90, 95%, maybe even that 160 level for like a minute. Then you want to take it easy for, say, 90 seconds. And you want to go back to that slow jog for 90 seconds. And just do that maybe 5 or 6 times. Right? So, and then you just want to just cool down within that 3-mile run at the end. Like the whole thing should take you less than, if you're running a 10-minute mile, that would be 30 minutes. With those intervals, will make it even quicker. You're talking about like a less than a 30-minute run, maybe 28 minutes, 27 minutes with 5 or 6 of those 1-minute intervals. And I like you to do that twice a week. Okay? 2 walk. Okay, I run 3 miles day 1, day 2, and then the next day you're doing your base building. Okay, your base building is when you're walking. And I like that Phil Maffetone formula. So we're going to I like 170 instead of 180, which is a little less aggressive. You take 170, then you minus your age 44, and that's 126 beats per minute. So when you're walking, and you're probably not even going anywhere near that high, I would just walk, just make sure your heart doesn't go any faster than 126 beats. Okay, so when you're doing your interval days on those high intensity intervals, I would say keep you close to 160, just for that minute, maybe 5 or 6 times. But when you're doing your base building, stay under 126. And a cool way of doing that, if you want to improve on your base building, but in your case, Chris, it may take it a little beyond walking. What he loves to do, and I love to do it too, like when my kids ran, I wanted my son to do this. He did it sometimes he didn't, is to like 3 months out of your base build where you take a certain amount of time. Let's say it's that same 30 minutes. But if you're walking, it's interesting, you burn the same amount of calories whether you're running or walking 3 miles, which is kind of cool. Just walking takes you twice as long. So if you're walking 3 miles, maybe that takes you, I don't know, 55 minutes, something like that. The whole idea is that you don't want your heart rate to go above 126, but you want to be able to cover more ground within the same amount of time. So let's say you're giving yourself a 45-minute walk. And typically when you walk 45 minutes, you walk 3 miles. The whole idea is to get faster and faster while not letting your heart rate go higher. So you're improving your aerobic base. You're getting really good at burning fat. You're really good at, that's your true aerobic zone. See, when you're doing those intervals, the physiology gets a little complicated to understand, but you're more like anaerobic threshold. What I mean by anaerobic threshold is you're burning a lot of carbohydrates, you're glycolysis. You're right at the point where it's not really aerobic, but it kind of is, and it's all different. The science gets a little confusing, but there's all different muscle types. Like a professor explained it like this to me many years ago. There's like slow twitch fibers. Think of them as like dark meat chicken. They're fatty, they're oxidative, they're really good at burning oxygen and burning fat. And then there's type 2A and type 2B fibers, which is like white meat chicken, which is really good at burning carbohydrates. They contract faster than the slow twitch as well too. So how exercise progression works is that when you're walking at a comfortable pace, say you're walking, your heart's only beating 100 beats per minute, the muscles that are contracting like in your legs are mostly those slow twitch fibers, which are like dark meat chicken, which are really good at burning fat and oxygen. Okay, but then say you start sprinting and you're doing one of those intervals. Instead of just burning fat and oxygen, you start burning mostly carbohydrates. And the white meat chicken, right? I know it gets confusing, are stronger but not as fatigue resistant as the slow twitch. So they're more like your strength fibers. So when you're doing one of those hard intervals, so they use the term like anaerobic threshold. You're right at the point, like you're almost to the point where you're doing almost like a set of weights in a way. Like you're doing a set of like squats or leg presses with heavy weight where you're almost at failure, but you're not. Like you're burning fat, carbohydrates, you're burning everything. So, and that's though what increases your VO2 max. I know it gets a little confusing, all that, but that's how even muscle contraction follows a sequence. The same process happens when you're lifting weights. It's not like your muscles contract harder. You recruit more muscles to contract, right? So for example, let's say you're doing a set of bicep curls and you just got like a moderate weight. Say you got a 10-pound weight and you start curling it. At first, maybe using the slow twitch fibers because it's not that hard. It's really easy, right? But as you start fatiguing, as you start getting harder, you start recruiting more muscle. Say you have 1 million muscle cells in your bicep. You start off using maybe 10,000, then 20,000, then 200,000, then 300,000. Then those slow twitch fibers, not like they're necessarily tired, they don't have the strength. So they say, okay, give me some help. So they go to the type 2A and type 2B fibers, which are like the white meat chicken. They're strong, but they fatigue sooner. And also they turn on, off, on, off. Sometimes when you're shaking, they're turning on, off, on, off. So it's interesting. Like aerobics is somewhat similar. Is that when you're really doing that base building, you're really working mostly those slow twitch fibers, right? You're burning good oxygen, you're burning fat. See, carbohydrates are rich in oxygen, so when you go into like the carbohydrates, you're getting oxygen that way, like anaerobic. I know it's a little confusing, the science. I did a really good video years ago on YouTube where I broke this down. The video didn't do well because no one wants to hear about the science part of this stuff. It was like a 15-20 minute video where I really broke this down. I'll try to find it and pull it, but if you go back years ago on my YouTube channel, you'll see it. But I hope that answered your question, Chris. So just I've been rambling a little bit. The quick summary is, okay, 2 days out of the week when you're doing that 3-mile run, do those intervals. Get your heart rate up to maybe 160 beats, roughly there. I don't know if you're wearing a heart rate monitor or you can just, like I know myself, you can go with rate of perceived exertion. You want to do maybe 5 or 6 intervals for 1 minute really hard, 90-minute rest, 1 minute hard, 90-minute rest. Do that 5 or 6 times, then cool down. Do that twice a week. And then the days when you're walking, you don't want your heart to beat, say, above 125 beats. And try to progress like that. Okay. And even if you want to do, like if you want to go 3 miles walk, 3 miles run, you can also do one steady state. Steady state meaning that, you're at like 75% in your heart rate. Which I think steady state is still fine too. So for example, if you wanted to do 176 times point, say 75, you're going to be at like 132, 135 one day too if you just want to take a nice 30-minute run that way as well. So many different ways of doing it. Okay, let's see. Okay, what if you just want to stay the same? Okay, we did that one. We're eating. Okay, we're back. Okay, you're back. Okay, I lost one. Oh, thanks, Chris. Give me another one. I think you're so nice. Thanks for the super chat again. Thanks, Mike, for helping with the cardio. I will also work on my basic base building walking. You're always so helpful and explain everything. Oh, no, thanks. Oh, that's great, Chris. I think it's great. I think it's just as important. I love base building. I have to say, out of all my workouts, the only workout I don't like doing is I don't like doing the interval. I just find it just exhausting. I don't enjoy it. I push off. There were times when I did a weight. Okay, good. All right, so let's see what we got. Okay, froze again. Yeah, sorry. Hopefully it's back. I hope I'm back, guys. Just give me a thumbs up if I'm back. Let's see. Did I lose some? Okay, and there's another thing, and just to keep going with these slides, I'm assuming that everyone's back. Do a sun dance, Mike, so the rain will not disturb you. Yeah, that's not do a sun dance. No, that would be great. I would love that. Sometimes I may just go in the rain, but I think it actually says thunderstorms. So I know if it's thunderstorms, I won't go. But I have a treadmill in the house that I can use too. Oh, great. Thanks, Chris. Let's see. Jeff's got a question. Okay, this is Jeff. Jeff, one question I asked at the end of the last week, but you didn't see it in time. When doing 5-2, do you recommend eating breakfast the day after the 2-day fast? Okay, so you're doing 5-2. If people don't know, you eat normally for 5 days. You do 2 days of dramatic calorie reduction fasting, which is maybe like eat 500 calories, 700 calories for 2 days. So I'm assuming, Jeff, that you're doing it 2 days in a row. So then I think you can eat breakfast then. I know you're a really fit, active guy, so I probably would eat breakfast the next day if you're doing it 2 consecutive days. If you're not doing 2 consecutive days, then I would stick to your normal routine. I think it's probably good. So like we said with Alexander, just to get that protein in your system, because you've been fasting for 2 days, eating real low calories for 2 days. And then obviously we all want to do the age and lose weight healthily. We got to do resistance training, right? And just the basic movements. I think this is like the bare minimum, which is almost all you have to do to some degree, is like body weight squats and lunges. You can do them at home with dumbbells, with just body weight air squats, push-ups. You do your pushing, and then planks. And if you want to just get some resistance bands, you can do some pulling, some rows, things like that. Just the basic movements. But I'm working on, like I said last time, I'm working on this. I'm going to film like a couple of hundred videos, or well over 100 on just exercise form and this. Like my son's helping me do it. It's still going to take me a little bit of time, but it's coming along pretty good. It's Alexandra. Okay. Is it important to lift until failure when I do push-ups or lift my doubles? I don't think you should, Alexandra. I know it's very popular and I overtrained for 20 years, but there's a term now I like called reps in reserve, RIR, and I like that. I would always keep a rep or 2 in reserve. And seriously, 75 to 80% of your exercise should be easy to moderate. Like those intervals will be hard, Chris, but when you calculate how much time you're spending working out, we're only talking about 7-8 minutes of hard work, or that would be 6 minutes of hard work twice a week. So on a percentage, it's very low. Same thing with training to failure. I would very rarely train to failure. Come close, 80-90% effort, and I would even cycle that in different time frames, meaning that like say you're working in a 10-week cycle, similar to taking diet breaks after 6 weeks. Say you're working in a 6-week cycle, I would increase the intensities to maybe just that last week you're training maybe close to failure, maybe 90%, 95% effort, and then cut back again, go back down to 75% and progression up. There's so many different ways of doing it, but I would very, very rarely train to failure. I think you can do just as well. It's different, things get complicated. I didn't even know complicated is the right word. It's different if you're a power lifter, or you're an athlete and you want to, win a contest, or you're competing. You may have to do things that may not necessarily be healthy for you, but you can put on muscle and get crazy strong coming close to failure with a couple, 2 or 3 reps in reserve. I very, very rarely go to failure. Plus, you really need a spotter. You need someone with you. And that actually can hurt hypertrophy. It can hurt your muscle gains training to failure too often. You can easily overtrain. So I wouldn't go to failure, or very rarely. Okay, this is Jeff again. No, I've been doing Sundays and Thursdays. So you have been splitting it up, okay, as my 2 fast days. But on most days, I only have coffee in the morning. But I asked because of what you said about getting, just in general, Jeff, and I know I've been struggling with this too. I tried it a few times, like really, doing my first meal, whether it be a protein shake at 10. I know you went to the essential aminos too, or just eating like a full meal at 10 o'clock, but then I have to eat dinner so early. It just doesn't work with me, especially in the summertime. So generally what I've been doing, I've shortened up a little bit. Like I'll have something like 11:30, my protein shake 11, then we're done eating by 7:30, like that. But the research is pretty strong about the early time restricted eating, that if you have to choose between the two, it's probably a little better for maintaining muscle and putting on muscle to take in some protein calories like 10 o'clock, earlier in the morning. But back again, like to Alexander's question and to that other doctor, it's still more important just to take in good nutrition, enough protein, even if you're just doing it in one meal. You know what I mean? It's still, and these things are not that dramatic. We're talking a few percentage points difference, maybe taking in protein 10 o'clock as opposed to waiting until 12. But a lot of it is psychological and just how you feel about it. And, maybe on a day where you did really, really low calories, you wake up in the morning, you're a little bit hungrier and you want to do it. But I don't think it's going to make that much difference There's probably a difference if you're really just doing OMAD. If you're doing OMAD only one meal a day for extended periods of time, then I do think it really is kind of hard to take in enough protein, even if you're eating 100 grams. But if you're a 170 pound guy, you need more than 100 grams, right? So probably better if you're taking some calories earlier in the day. But you also could do that essential amino thing like we talked about. All right. I don't know if I lost them. Let me pull up a couple other meals. Let me see what I got here meal-wise. Let's see. I think I had this. I make this from time to time. I had this a few weeks ago. I've been making the shrimp. The shrimp was on sale. Whatever the shrimp's on sale. And I think this is almost like a whole pound of shrimp. I think this is probably 100 grams of protein or like 90 grams of protein. So I probably overdid it. But it was almost an all-protein meal because there's the arugula, the mixed greens, which I always do. Then I have an orange. Orange has been on sale too, and I guess I'm buying stuff on sale. I always do the avocado, so I'm getting like 90 grams of protein, relatively low calorie, high fiber. This is like my style of eating. And I even did bacon and eggs again this week, which I've been doing that maybe a little too often. I used to do this maybe like once every couple of months, but I did this meal again. And some people complain to Mike, you don't know how to make scrambled eggs. No, I like my eggs like this. How I make my eggs is I put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, I use like a cast iron pan, ironclad, and I don't like to scramble them. I like to put the eggs in whole, like you would just fry an egg, and then I just kind of scramble them up while I'm cooking them. I like to do it like that. And then the orange, I guess oranges have been on sale, avocado, and every now and then I buy that boar's head bacon, which I just love. I just don't want to have it too often. Let me see if I can pull some other meals up, because I think I didn't put too many in this time, and if people are interested in that. I lost track of how long we're going here. Let me see. I have a whole file on all different meals. Let me see where my meals file is. Any questions, guys? You can keep asking. I'm 230. Oh, Jeff, I didn't know you were 230 pounds. I thought you were much lighter than that. I didn't realize that. But you're pretty tall, though, right? So you definitely need a good amount of protein for the day, for sure. I mean, you should be upwards of maybe even more than me. You should be up over 150 grams of protein for the day. Let me see if I got okay, this is Alexandria. Okay, let me answer some questions while I look for the meals. This is Alexandria. Okay, speaking of powerlifting, I saw a documentary about this week. Apparently powerlifters often have damage and painful joints very early in life. Hey, that's why I like that metabolic stress type training, especially when you're older. I did some, never competed or anything like that, but I used to like squat and deadlift like a ton of weight. And it definitely, it can really take its toll on you, no question about it. Plus, that's the difference between like playing a sport. When you're lifting weights as a sport, like a power lifter, your whole goal is just to win the competition, to win the, and obviously you want a healthy, strong body and all that, and you're doing it maybe to be a strong and fit, but it's all about winning. And my whole philosophy is so different that's why I never really, early on in my career, I did train some athletes. I trained some like college, collegiate athletes, even Division I. I had this basketball guy that did really incredibly well. And, but it's a different mindset, because sometimes you have to do things that are not necessarily good for your body. Even when, like a typical example, it's even just like a golfer. You look at like a golfer like Tiger Woods or anyone. You would think maybe if you swung the club, say 100 times one day, that would be enough for the coordination, for the strength, but it may not be enough for your psychological advantage. Like sometimes some people just have to spend hours and hours. Like I had a friend of mine who was a semi-professional cyclist. He used to, let me see what Jeff said. I did get down as low as 267. Wow, that's incredible in 2019, but then regained it. You can do it again, Jeff. You really can. No question about it. Like I said, I had this semi-pro cycle friend, and he would tell me, I asked him, I was asking him, why do you think you do better some days than other? Like, what's your diet? He really wasn't into diet that much, and he spent most of his exercise was really cycling. He said, Mike, I do best when I get to these races early. And he would have one of those Aerodyne, like he would take that. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Those good bicycles where you can put the back wheel, you elevate it on this like spinning air wheel. a lot of cyclists like to use their bike in the wintertime. They do it in house, but he would bring it to an event. He says, yeah, I like the bike like 30, 40 miles before the race. I said, are you kidding me? Yeah, that I do best when I do that. I said, don't you think that's going to affect your performance in the race? No, I feel better. It had to affect his performance, but psychologically, he needed that warm-up. That was his ritual. He would get there, and he'd do like 30, 40 miles of biking before the race. Like professional athletes do things, besides like creating the response of just, that optimal dose of exercise is so hard to figure out, but they need to do it. So powerlifters, even beyond the event, might be doing things that they just feel like they need to do. They don't really necessarily have to. Okay, heavyweight training often does joint damage. I know, Ronnie Coleman, he looks so banged up. I feel people don't know who Ronnie Coleman was. He was incredible physique, was like a Mr. Olympia. I think he won multiple times, and then he's so messed up right now orthopedically. He had multiple operations. I even see him walking around with a walker and things like that. It's really sad to see him like that. I think he's doing better as of recent. I've seen other videos and pictures of him looking better. Lou Ferrigno had 2 hip replacements. I know you mentioned that before. I can't believe that. I had no idea. Many years ago already, some of them saying for many powerlifters also moderation is key. I totally agree. That's why I like when you get older, I like to use moderate to lighter weights, and I like to just pump the muscle up. That's why I like to say metabolic stress, meaning that your metabolites build up. Light weights, high repetitions, greater time under load. Don't lock out. Every now and then, very rarely go to failure. Things like that, for sure. Here's Chris. Okay, I'm looking to buy into buying a treadmill for the house. What brand to use at your home? Did you get your shipped to? Yeah, I got one, Chris. We just got it. I love it. I did a whole bunch of research. Sole, S-O-L-E. I bought the least expensive one, and I love it. And I've bought literally because I've owned a few different gyms over the years, and years ago I spent $10,000 on a treadmill once. It was ridiculous. I never should have done it. It was a good treadmill, but nothing. Hey guys, everybody back? Hey, sorry about that. I know I keep on freezing up. I got a really, really bad storm here, so we'll see what happens. I want to finish asking Chris's question. Yeah, I love the Sole. It's I went with the 3 horsepower unit. There was a more expensive one. I think I paid $12.99, something like that. And I know that doesn't sound like it's cheap, but you almost have to spend somewhere around there. I think it's this machine that I bought for $12.99 is as good as ones I bought for like $4,000 or $5,000 for the gyms over the year. I think it's that good. But if you want one even better, there was a 3.5 model, but I think it was like $500 more. I love it. SOLE. You can't go. I even did a review on it on Amazon. If you want to see like a quick review and look at it, because I'm like an affiliate for it, whatever. So you don't have to buy it through there. But if you want to go to Amazon, my Cola, you can do treadmill, whatever. You'll see it. It's listed there. You can look at the machine. I don't use all the bells and whistles, but it has one thing I like about it. Has a fan. You hit the button and it blows air into it, which I really like. Has a nice display, and you can hook up. My daughter does all that. She hooks up her. She listens to music out of the speaker. She does the hill profile. I don't do any of that. I like to control everything myself. I just do manual mode, and then I do the incline. It goes to 15-degree incline. It goes. I haven't had it at max speed, but I don't know how fast it goes. My son's like a lightning college runner. He runs in it all the time, and he loves it. I think it's a great machine. I would look into SOLE for sure. Okay. What if you want to stay at the same weight but lean? What? I think yes. Yeah. Okay. What if you want to stay at the? Okay. I would do that, Melissa. I would let's say you're at maintenance calories. Eat a great amount of protein. I would go 1 gram per pound in your case if you want to get lean but stay the same weight because you don't want to lose any muscle mass at all. And I just would do a lot of resistance training. I would hit. I've done other videos just on this progressive overload. Working like 12 week cycles. You want to be stronger at the end of the cycle. Do your basic movements, your squat, your bench, your deadlift, do all your basic stuff. I mean, look at some of my other live streams. I go into that in great detail. Okay, let's see. Glad it's not just me. Yeah. Okay, I'm 58, 40 pounds to lose. I'm just starting out on my fitness journey. I'm walking 30 minutes to 1 hour a day. Love that. what size hand weights and how many sets and reps do you suggest I start with? I wouldn't really, I'm not a fan of walking with the hand weights for a couple of reasons. First of all, I find it rough in the elbows. I feel like at 58 it could lead to elbow tendonitis, and just it's too draining. And it's not going to do too much for you anyway. If you wanted to do something like that, you can get into rucking. I'd almost rather you put like a weight on your back in a backpack and doing some walks like that, which is great for osteoporosis, for putting on muscle and make the walk harder. But what I would want you to do besides the walking is really do some do some resistance training. Start off easy. Instead of those hand weights, unless you mean hand weights at home, then I think you should get them. A couple of things I would buy. You can buy hand weights literally like, I'm not sure if you know how strong you are, but maybe 5, 7.5, 10s. If you're a gal, if you're a guy, go much higher than that. And I love those Bowflex adjustable weights. Those Bowflex adjustable weights where you can dial in anywhere from 2.5 pounds to 52 pounds. Somewhat expensive though, but I love them with the bench. Another thing, you can buy those Spree exercise bands, which I love those bands. They're like $10 a band. You can do anything with it. Make sure it has the attachment on the end so you can close it into a doorway. You can do everything with that. And besides the walking, I just would want you to spend 20 minutes 2-3 times a week doing those basic things. And you can even do it almost with calisthenics like squats and lunges and bridges, and even just those bands. But when it comes to weights, I would lean towards the lighter side. And I'm going to start doing a lot more videos, but I have a whole bunch of videos on the YouTube channel too on that. Let's see. All right, guys, I'm going to go. Sorry about today, like losing the signal multiple times. Plus, I don't think I'm going to do the Instagram thing at the same time again. I find it too distracting. I felt like it took me a while to warm up into this live stream. But I hope everyone's having a wonderful time. Thanks for the super chats, Chris, Alexandra. Really nice of you. And hope everyone's having a good week. And take care. Have a nice day. Take care.